What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Marvel Jerks. Wait, we're not. Are we still doing that? I don't think we still.
Whoa!
It's been 2 years.
No.
No,
Two
it's
years
dead.
gone, gone,
It's
gone.
it's it's dead like the car drops dead, right, Tim?
Oh no, I'm
Oh
catching
no,
straight.
catching heat. We'll edit that out. But Jake, welcome back, man. How you been?
I'm good. Yeah. You?
Good, good, good.
Yeah. Not so much on the card side. I've not been.
Not been doing too much there, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
All
Legos and
Lego.
the Legos now. But it's
Lego.
that time of the
Just
it's that time of the
Lego.
year where we talk about mental con, though, right? That's more important than Legos and
Exactly
cars.
that time of the year.
So. And we
Always.
got our good friend
Always.
here, Art underscore Tim Cologne. You guys know him, Tim Cologne. So
Yeah,
Tim,
what's up,
how you
man?
doing today, man? Welcome
Good,
in.
Nathan.
Tim,
Yeah.
Tim, he doesn't like to take credit for a lot of things, but he volunteered information about this charity, and Jake and I talked about this. So every year with MentalCon, you guys know we choose a different charity. First year was Wounded Warrior Project. Last year was Comic Books for Kids, and this year we're going to be doing a fundraiser for Luke's Purpose. And Ashley, you are the president slash founder of
Yep,
Luke's
that's it.
Purpose.
Yep.
And you and Tim have been friends since you were saying before we started recording here since 2016. Why don't you go
Mhm.
ahead, tell us a little bit about Luke's Purpose, why you started it, and how you guys are helping families.
Yeah, absolutely. So my husband and I started Luke's Purpose. It was November of 2022. We lost our son Luke October of 2022, very unexpectedly, very tragically. And we were very lost. Of course, we were in complete shock and devastated, and we didn't really know how to put 2 feet in front of one foot in front of the other. Um, after he passed away, we were in the hospital, and we were coming home, that night, and the first thing the hospital did for us is handed us a bill, and they said, "We're really sorry, but you know, this is that's it. Sorry." We were completely shattered, and initially, like when we got home, we started getting so much support from our friends, from our family, from our community. Everybody was just reaching out. They were like, "How can we help? How can we help? What can we do?" And we didn't know how people could help us. We didn't know what they could do because we were in shock, and we didn't know what we needed. And as those few days after his passing, we were going to the cemetery, we were going to the funeral, we were picking out all of these things for his services, and we just again kept getting bills for everything. And like many people, young parents, older parents, these finances came at us, and we were not prepared for it. So we had just left the hospital without our son, and a week later we were somehow managing to pay these bills. So our community, like I said, and our friends and family, they got together, they made a GoFundMe for us, we raised a ton of money, and we were able to pay for Luke's funeral, cemetery, the plot, everything that sort of came along with it, and just some medical bills that were unexpected, of course, too. And yeah, we just that morning, I remember we woke up Monday, Tuesday, whatever it was, after everything, and we're like, what do we do now? Like, what do we do? Everything kind of settled, and we just said, we have to do something in Luke's honor. We have to do something. We want to carry his name. We want to keep going. We want to tell his story, share his life. He only had 3 years on this earth, and we need to keep him going forever. Like, as long as we're here, we have to keep his name going. So we knew from the very beginning that we wanted to start some kind of a foundation, but just we weren't sure what. And after, like I said, everything had settled, we really wanted to focus on helping lost parents, connecting with them, helping them. And again, these very unexpected finances come at people, and when they lose a child, and most of the time, if not all of the time, they're not even mentally prepared for any of it. They don't
Right.
really know how to pay for it financially, and they're just physically, mentally, emotionally not even
Yeah, I
look
don't know
you
how
know
anybody
at
could be
it.
prepared for something like
Yeah,
that.
it's just the last thing you want to think of course. So we started Luke's Purpose, a few weeks, really, about a month after he had passed, and I was home from work. I took a leave of absence and I was pacing the walls. I was like, I have to do something. My older daughter at the time was 4, so she was back at school. So I was really here by myself all day. My husband went back to work, and I just started researching. I started putting together the foundation, and our mission, our number one goal is to, take the financial burden away from parents who have experienced child loss. So we connected with a bunch of hospitals in the area, social workers in the area who, work with child loss families, most of the time people who are just in a tough financial situation in general, and then of course they're dealing with this traumatic loss, so that's really who we're helping. And then the second part is to really connect them with mental health resources after this, of course, this tragic event. So we're helping financially, and then we're also sort of connecting the parents with group counselors, grief counselors, sibling resources. Like I said, we have a daughter. At the time she was 4, and I didn't even know how to help her. Her brother had just died. So sibling resources, camps for kids. We just connected with another program that connects lost parents to other lost parents, because I think through all of this we really realized how important it is to connect with people who have been through the same thing. Um, and so, yeah, that's just really our mission here at Luke's Purpose. And we've been active for just about 2.5 years now.
Oh, wow.
And we've helped just under 100 families. I think we're at like
That's
97
amazing.
families so
That's
far.
awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's so great.
No, just basically what you're doing, Ashley, is amazing. We have a friend, I think it's 5 years ago now. They were on holiday in Tenerife. Uh, they had a little boy who was 3 years old, and Tenerife, it's Spanish, but it's an island off Africa, basically.
Mhm.
And his mum turned round, so somebody shouted, you know, "Is this your salad?" His mum turned round, looked at the salad or the food or whichever it was, turned back round, and the little boy was gone.
Oh my
Just
God.
and we
Yeah.
was speaking about this the other day, and the parents, it broke the parents at the time, and people judged the parents, but his mother still talks about it and say she was saying to Andrea, my wife, said, I just turned round to look at
Mhm.
my dinner coming, and I turned back round, and that was it. And unfortunately, he passed away, and they didn't have any help, and they were kind of backed by 50% of friends, and then you know how people are. Maybe another 50% judge them, behind closed doors or whichever, and basically they've just dealt with it themselves over the past 5 years. So what
Yeah.
you're doing is so commendable, and there is such a need for it, which I suppose a lot of people don't even talk about it because they don't want to address it because it is a young child. So
Yeah.
it's amazing what you're doing.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And it's very true. After Luke died, we felt very, very alone. And you hear of these tragedies that happen, to families and to these young kids, and you don't think it'll ever happen to you, right? Of course, and then it
No, no,
happens, and you're like, you feel totally isolated. So like I said, a big part of Luke's purpose, is to help these families financially. That way, when they are leaving the hospital and they're handed this medical bill or this funeral bill or whatever this bill is, don't even look at it. Just, we'll look at it. We'll take care of it. Go be with your family. Go be with your other kids. Go do, we'll take care of it. But again, the other big part of that is it's extremely mentally draining and exhausting, and this is trauma, and you can't go through it alone. And we realized that very quickly ourselves, that we got into therapy very quickly after, and group therapy, being around other parents, it was very helpful. So we really leaned into, we have to help families financially, but we also have to help families just with mental health resources and
mm,
connecting them, and
mm,
being that next step. Everyone goes back to work on Monday after everything, and then what comes next for the family? What comes next for them? So we're
no.
here for that next step too.
think you've hit it perfectly there, that people realise that there is a next step.
Yeah,
You're not just in the eye of a whirlwind, and it's like, well, what do I do? What goes on?
right.
Even the sentence "we're here for the next step" it is huge because it gives people a direction, doesn't it?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly right.
Yeah, and to your point, the care afterwards with the mental health aspect of things, the financial side of the medical bills and stuff like that. It's great to have the friends, that core group of friends in your family, to help you kind of get through those things.
Yeah.
But you need something longer term that's going to help you through that as
Oh,
well,
of
because those
course.
people will
Yeah.
move on with their lives and kind of they'll grieve at their own pace. But you
Yeah.
as the parent, that stays with you a lot longer than it does, a friend of the family or something like that.
Of
So that's
course.
great
Yeah,
that you guys are
absolutely.
providing those helpful services afterwards too.
Yeah, and we're coming up 3 years later that, Luke has passed, and it still feels like yesterday to me. Of
Yeah.
course, everyone's life moves on, life moves forward even in our lives, and so much has happened in our life in 3 years, but we still are very adamant about our mental health and our daughter's mental health, and
Mhm.
making sure we guide her, and making sure she's grieving in a healthy way. And I think that's, as a mother especially, what's important to me and to other mothers too. We obviously have to take care of ourselves, but we have to take care of our other children, and we have to make sure that they're in a good, happy place, and that they're grieving healthily, and they're expressing their emotions healthy. So we have a lot of sibling resources as well that we connect other parents with. And yeah, it's a forever journey. And I hate to say it, in the United States especially, mental health therapy, most of the time none of this is covered by insurance. So even if the families connect with Luke's Purpose, they come to us maybe a month or two later after their child has passed, and they say, we just need help connecting with a counselor or something. But it's upwards of
Yeah.
thousands and thousands of dollars, and then people don't do it. People don't commit to it because they just don't have the money to commit to something like that. So we help there too. We can connect them with the counselor. And then we can sort of expense for them, the first, 2 or 3 months of session. So that way they can at least get something going. So,
Yeah. Or they'll prioritize. You said they'll forego it after a while, or they'll prioritize somebody else's well-being above their own.
right.
Whether it's a parent, like you
Exactly.
said, a parent that's helping the children grieve, but not necessarily taking the time for themselves to do that process, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So,
Exactly right.
I mean, I think I met you, Nathan, and Jake through MentalCon, and I think the inaugural year I was a viewer, and I
yeah,
was so
yep, that's correct.
moved. Yeah, I was so moved by the message that I wanted to give back in any way that I could. Um, and I think just in agreement with you guys. I think, listen, it's if MentalCon is anything, it's helping people that deal with trauma, long term trauma,
Mhm.
and understanding that you know how to cope with life after that trauma, and understanding that uh, everyone is unique and different in their own way, and everyone's going to go through their process in their own unique way, respecting that, but also being there for people while they're going through their process, however long it might take, and it may be a lifetime, right? Trauma can last to the day we leave this earth. And so the fact that there are people that care, like Ashley, and obviously like you guys, enough to give of themselves and their time and their effort, just to acknowledge what people are going through. I love. Ashley has an Instagram called Grieving Moms, and it kind of tells you what not to say. Um, no, and listen, it's
Check it out,
it's
Jake.
hilarious. It's
Yeah,
funny.
I need lessons. Give me lessons quick.
Yeah, you gotta watch this, but it's hilarious, but it's also super educational, and she's figured out a way. First of all, Ash, you guys, she's my friend, and I'm a huge fan. She's funny as hell, but she figured out a way to be truthful in a way that's digestible for people, because people don't understand, right? And so you
Yeah.
know, it's something that I've even learned myself over the years, just learning how to be quiet and just lending an ear, right? You don't have to say anything, just being present for people,
Yeah.
allowing them to go through what they go through. I think a lot of us sometimes we have the tendency to just be like, "Oh yeah, I know what you're going through," and really you come across these situations where I I can't even imagine, what these last 3 years has been like for Ashley, or what those 5 years has been like for the folks that Jake was talking about, right?
Hmm.
Right.
Um, I can't even begin to fathom what it would be like, especially now that I've entered, fatherhood. Um, just thinking about, what that could even possibly be is just, it, it, it fills my heart with joy to know that, my friend was able to, take that and turn it into what she's turned it into. And, if you guys don't know, Luke was a huge Spider-Man fan.
Yes.
He has a ton of pictures with him, like, wearing Spider-Man costume and all this stuff. And, Spider-Man is kind of the premier character, I guess, in the Marvel card space. And it's a character that people relate to, and I just the magic behind how someone so young can connect with something at such a young age. I think it should be celebrated. And I thought, this was just a no brainer. You know,
Yeah,
being that Luke,
absolutely.
he
Yeah.
loves to read, you know.
He was a big Spider-Man fan, and he passed. His birthday is October 16th, and he passed away on October 14th. So he passed just a few days before his birthday. And a couple of weeks before he went in to the hospital, um, he we threw him his birthday party because he passed away from, I won't get into it, but it basically was complications from heart surgery. He wasn't born with a heart condition. We found out later when he was about 9 months old, when he was a baby, that he did have um, a heart condition, and not life threatening, nothing at all concerning. It was basically something that he would have lived with. It was no cause for concern, and he went in for a pretty minor procedure, and ultimately ran into some pretty uh, traumatic and just pretty awful circumstances, and ended up, just unfortunately not surviving the surgery. So we knew he was going to be in the hospital for his birthday. Maybe, just even if he was home, he would still be obviously recovering. So we threw him a birthday party, 2 weeks before. Totally Spider-Man, of course, he just loved it from head to toe. And, that year it's so funny because he's obsessed with Spider-Man, but for some reason that Halloween he wanted so badly to be Captain America. And I said, "Okay, you're going to change your mind the second you wake up and you're going to want to be Spider-Man. I know it." So of course, mom, like, I buy the two costumes. I bought the Captain America and the Spider-Man. And when I tell you that I had to pry that Spider-Man costume off of him every single day, I was like,
Yeah.
at least you're getting use out of it. So,
Get your money
but
worth.
yeah, he was a big Spider-Man fan. And, like Tim said, I don't know, it was right around the time where, oh gosh, what was that Spider-Man that came out? It was like a kid cartoon version of
Oh,
it.
it's the Spider-Verse. It's the Spider-Verse.
Spider-Verse. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was right around, that had come out, and the kids, they would watch the cartoons, they would watch that version of it. So he really became obsessed. Even my daughter, they had the other little girl Spider-Man or Spider-Girl, whatever, in there too. So they had their costumes on all the time. And they just they wanted to be superheroes, and he wanted to be a little
Mm.
superhero. And now
And
he
now he
is,
is.
in
Now he
some
is.
No,
way.
yes,
Yeah,
yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
He's
So
helping everybody else out when
he
he's
really
not here to
is.
do it.
Yeah,
So that's awesome.
yeah.
Well, awesome. Ashley, thank you so much for coming on and chatting with us about Luke's Purpose. If people want to find out more information about your guys' charity, where can they find you at and how can they reach you?
So we have our website is lukespurpose.org. You can head there for really all of the information about our organization, our upcoming events. We have merchandise. We've been in the media a couple of times. We have articles on there, and you could donate right there. Also, just a little bit about Luke, a little bit about us, and again, how we came up with the organization. And there's partnerships of people who have partnered with, other organizations that we have partnered with, the hospitals, the other organizations that we've worked with. That's all on our website. We have Instagram at Luke's Purpose and Facebook at Luke's Purpose. So we're all there. And just to note that Tim's called out my good grief. So I will just say, when he said it, it's very true. People grieve very, very differently. And even between my husband and I, we've been together for 100 years, and him and I were grieving very differently. And I was very vocal about my grief. I was very vocal about my emotions, and I was very vocal about why the F can't anyone just say something correct to me. Like I was just so, so I started this blog slash Instagram page. The handle is at Good Grief Moms. And I just started really posting about what not to say, or what not to do, or what to do, but also what not to do, what shouldn't you do. And sort of this leaned into this dark humor way of healing. And a lot of people connected with it, because a lot of people unfortunately have been through a traumatic loss in their life, whether it be a child, a parent, a spouse, anything that's just, that their loss was, they weren't ready for this loss, really at any time. And a lot of people have just said, oh my God, like, I want to say this to my mother-in-law. I want to say this to my friend. I want to say this to my coworkers. It's just, so it was really sort of, therapeutic and cathartic for me to get all of these emotions and all these feelings. I can't tell you, like, how the craziest things that people have said to us, even at his wake, like at a funeral, like it was just, and I'm like, what? Like, you really just said that? So it's more of like a how to not guide, so to speak.
Yeah.
But yeah, but again, it's, everyone grieves differently, like Tim also just mentioned. And it's not for everyone, which is fine. I don't take offense to that. But if you're, it helps to help some people. It helped me a lot too. So but yeah, so Luke's Purpose, we're here. So
Excellent.
yeah.
And don't forget
I'm gonna plug-
MentalCon. Oh, go ahead, Tim.
Yeah, just real fast. They have merch too, so if you guys want
Yes.
to support, they have hats, they have sweaters.
Yes, we have a ton of merchandise. I just we're getting a ton of new stuff too later this year. So if you don't grab anything now, don't worry. What sweatshirts really sell out pretty quickly. So we have a ton of new stuff coming in. We have one really big fundraiser every year, like our big event. We just had it in April. It was casino night. We did casino night last year. It was such a hit, so we did it again this year. Another hit. It was amazing. And then throughout the year, we do smaller fundraisers. We really try to connect with the community as well. Again, what we do, I hope no one ever needs us, at the end of the day. Like it's when we get an application, it breaks my heart every time. I hope we never do. But unfortunately, these things happen. And we'll never be able to stop child loss, like, as much as I want to every single day. We'll never be able to do that. But our goal really is to just, number one, help these parents, take away this financial burden from them, so they can focus on their family. And number two, guide them and help them navigate their loss. And really just sort of give them hope that while you have experienced probably the worst thing in your life, and the most devastating loss, you can still live. You can still take that step forward. You can still live a fulfilling life in a healthy way, in a happy way, honor your child, grieve, and find joy, and really have both. And as a parent too, like I said, my daughter was 4, she's about to be 7. We had a baby last year. Like, we are moving forward. Our life is moving forward, and we want to show our kids, in the face of devastation, we can still have these moments of joy, and we're deserving of that. So we're really hoping to give
Mhm.
these parents that hope too. So
Yeah, that's amazing. So, well, we're hoping that we can help you out in some way with our little event that we do in our hobby
yes.
that superhero related. So,
Yeah.
Spider Man is always a big hit. I know that with the sketch card stuff.
Love
So,
it.
hopefully,
I'm
we can
so
do some great
excited.
things for you
Yeah.
guys. So, guys, thanks for joining us for the interview today with Ashley from LukesPurpose.org. And don't forget, MentalCon is on June 21st and 22nd this year. So, we'll see you guys there.
Thank you so much.